Member of the AntiPoverty Platform says the unions were sidelined by government. CEO of Taylor Group focuses on some matters that is hurting the country and the economy. And Minister of TAYAT explains the role of the Bureau of Telecommunications. Those are the headlines from Monday, February the 8th, 2021. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie from Clifton. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, the House of Parliament sat in a Central Committee meeting on Friday, February the 5th, 2021. It was a continuation of the meeting which was adjourned on December the 7th, 2020. The Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila de Weaver, was in attendance to discuss the financial status of the Bureau Telecommunications BTP and Post St. Martin. The meeting was requested by MP S.A. Westcott Williams, MP M.D. Gums, MP C.A. Buncamper, and MP G.S. Heiliger Martin. At the parliamentary meeting, the Honorable Minister of TAYAT gave elucidations to the questions that were posed to her regarding the financial status of the Bureau of Telecommunications, including what is the BTP's role in ensuring the quality of telecommunication services.
What is BTP's role in ensuring the quality of telecommunications service? Based on the Landverordening Telecommunicatievoorzieningen, BTP may enforce the requirements towards the physical infrastructure of concessions and license holders in reference to mandatory services that includes telephone services. On September 3rd, 2015, the Minister of TAYAT published the Quality of Services and Quality of Experience Policy for St. Martin, which forms the framework for the QoS for telecommunication services. Can government ask BTP for an assessment of the internet services provided on the island by especially Telem? And if they have ever conducted one, and if BTP cannot provide, can they get an independent outside assessment of the services? Internet access is not a mandatory service. As such, BTP does not have the legal authority to access the quality of the services provided by the operators. Prior to requesting such from BTP, a government still has to establish the internet access as a mandatory service by means of revising the regulatory framework. Question number 3, BTP is our telecommunication regulator. What are they presently regulating? The mandatory telecommunication services is what is being regulated. BTP also regulates the frequency assignments and oversees the various operational networks. BTP is also the regulator of the postal sector. Are there any investigations currently going on in regards to the functioning of BTP? If so, what information can be divulged regarding this investigation? There is currently one investigation ongoing with the Public Prosecutor's Office, or TBO. And what I can add to this is that this investigation has hindered the financial audits for 2017, 2018, and 19. While we strive for more accountability from BTP as well as strengthening the relationship between BTP and government, an agreement has been reached with the auditor to finalize the years 2017, 18, and 19 via means of review. Is BTP successful in collecting the subscribers' fees from the providers? If not, why? BTP does not collect subscriber fees from concession holders, but they collect fees based on tariffs as mentioned in the Regeling Telecommunicatietarieven. What is of note is that there is a high amount of doubtful debts recorded in the financial statements. Part of the cleanup of BTP that has to take place is coming up with a policy for the write-offs of the writing off of these doubtful debts, and whether or not those licenses will be maintained without collection. Have any of the subscribers asked for delay in payment of fees or reduction of fees? As mentioned above, subscribers don't pay fees to BTP. Concession and license holders in the past paid subscriber fees for spectrum usage. However, as of 2013, this is no longer the case based on the revised legislation for spectrum billing. Is BTP up to date with its payments to government? If not, why not? BTP is up to date with payments, and we have an overview of all of the collections done between 2011 and 2020. What it should be mentioned is that because 2016 is the last audited financial statements, of course, you don't have an auditor's opinion on the actual balance of it, which is why we have agreed with SOABE to continue doing the review for 17, 18, 19 so that those amounts can be verified, especially since it's so closely linked with the investigation that is ongoing as part of the internal changes that have to be made.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament, the Honourable Claudius Van Camper, spoke about the Internet service and telecommunication licenses. The Member of Parliament said that it is the first time he is hearing that Internet is not a mandatory service, and for BTP to do anything about a horrible Internet service, it would have to be regulated by law. The Member of Parliament also asked about moratoriums on communication licenses and if they are still in effect, because, surprise, surprise, it is not.
It's the first time that I'm hearing that Internet is not a mandatory service, and for BTP to do anything about the horrible, horrible Internet service we have in this country, it will need to be regulated by law. So I'm going to ask today to the Minister, how fast can you get an initiative amendment to the law to Parliament so that we can make it mandatory? Because it is absurd that as Minister of TIAT, who has directly the economy under her wing, is seeing this country fiddle away, and no one comes here to invest because we don't have stable internet or even internet to brag about. We are one of the worst in the Caribbean. And to top it off, it's not even mandatory to regulate. I think that's a shame. I don't know what else to say. I was hoping to hear that we had problems, but to hear that it's not mandatory regulated by law, so we do nothing about it, that's a sad, sad situation. Madam Chair, then I have another question. I asked about moratoriums on communications licenses if it is still in effect. Surprise, surprise, it is not. It is not in effect. So anybody can apply for a communications license. Yet, in the same breath within the answers, we are talking about doubtful debts created by licenses that we gave off. We don't pull in those licenses, and we leave it wide open for others to come and get licenses. So we can create more bad debt in BTP, and they are stuck with debts that they are never going to get. Madam Chair, I would really appreciate if the Minister can clearly state that the moratorium will be reinforced and all those bad debt licenses be pulled by month's end. Pull them. They ain't paying anyway. Don't wait till they go and sell them to a third party from abroad and they come in here and mash up Talem and all those. Because that's what's going to happen. And we allow these licenses to keep floating. We just talk the truth about it. That's what's happening. And we got to deal with it the right way.
And in other news at this time, the Financial Supervision Council, CFT, is carrying out an investigation into the financial transactions of its own management team. CFT Chairman Raymond Gradus had an investigation performed of the facts carried out in response to anonymous reports of misconduct by the management of the Secretariat. The fact-finding was initiated following anonymous reports about 3 members of management. They are said to have made first-class trips to the Netherlands for non-business purposes. Furthermore, luxury gifts were also received at the expense of the CFT. Various staff members were also left because of the bad atmosphere within the CFT. People talk about favoritism, culture of fear and violations of integrity. The CFT's aim is realizing sustainable financial government management of the various islands. It is extra bitter pill to swallow that the CFT writes on its own website, within the working method of CFT, independence, professionalism, and transparency are the core values. In doing so, the CFT aims to make a positive contribution to good public administration, the prosperity and well-being of the population of Aruba, Curacao, Sint Maarten, Bonaire, Sint Eustatius, and Saba. And still to come, Governor E.B. Holiday tours the Sint Maarten Medical Center and the ACF. I'll have the detail to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Hi, I'm Switch.
And I'm Save.
And together we're here
to tell you about WIB, Switch, and Save mortgage offer.
Now at WIB, you can save and benefit from great specials when you decide
to bring your mortgage to WIB.
When you switch, WIB will offer you
payment of penalty fees up to 3 months interest,
payment of notary fees,
waive of bank closing fees,
and also the lowest interest rate.
Plus, you'll have the chance to win back 1 year of interest payment.
Visit any of WIB's mortgage specialists and benefit from WIB's Switch and
Hey, that's my part. And Save mortgage offer.
WIB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue to honor our local heroes for Black History Month, today we will feature Cyril Ebenezer Richardson, and the text was taken from Kenneth Cook's book, The Politicians Who Made a Difference, 50 Movers and Shakers. Most people would remember Cyril Ebenezer Richardson as the politician who, in 1990, told Claude Watty, "You are fired." There were, however, many other things he achieved as a Commissioner of Finance, Sports, and Public Works. Ebby, as some people call him, first ran for office on the DP list in 1979. 7 years later, after the death of Raymond Nicholson, he was appointed to the Island Council. Ebby was born on Aruba in 1943 and moved to Sint Maarten during the late 1960s. He was employed as an accountant. In 1987, Mr. Richardson was appointed to the Executive Council after winning 142 votes in that year's Island Council elections. With the support of his counterparts, he approached the Dutch funding agency at the time, CABNA, and requested money to install the electricity at the Rahul Illit Sports Complex. The ambulance department also asked Ebby for his assistance in purchasing a new ambulance. He was able to secure the vehicle from Miami for $210,000 US. He was also responsible for paving the Corralito Road in Mary's Fancy. 16 speed bumps were added to the road, but after many complaints, they were reduced significantly. Mr. Richardson also spearheaded the paving of roads in the St. Peter's district. In 1989, the Sint Maarten Guardian newspaper reported Ebby's call to stop the landfilling of the Simpson Bay Lagoon. Mr. Richardson contended that filling in the lagoon to build apartments would obstruct flights at the airport. Eventually, the filling in was stopped due to his continued opposition. That same year, Ebby and his fellow councillors agreed to increase the salaries of teachers and civil servants by 15%. The hike cost the government some 4 million guilders. Mr. Richardson did not run for the Island Council elections of 1991. He remained out of politics since then and retreated to his home in Cold Bay until his death. And as we continue now with the parliamentary meeting, the Chief Executive Officer for Telem Group of Companies, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, explained to members of Parliament the financial situation of Telem. The Chief Executive Officer said that he wants to focus on some matters that is hurting the country and the economy.
That we have passed through some householding items of the Telem Group, I want to focus on some matters that is hurting the country and its economy. The SMPR1 cable was damaged, and it is still damaged presently. What are the losses of income due to the damaged cable? There is no loss of revenue or income. Immediately after the break in December 2016, traffic was rerouted via alternative routes. In the meantime, Telem has purchased IRU, which stands for Indefeasible Right of Use, on an alternate route leaving the island. Even after the repair of SMPR1, this route will remain active to balance the total traffic on both routes. It seems that entities like Starlink.com will be entering our market, most probably very soon. What will this mean for the survivability of the Telem Group? Like all other concession holders, it is the role of BTP to make sure that all telecom services pay the required fees to provide service on the island. If Starlink or any other service is being provided on the island without the proper license, BTP has to shut the service down. Telem believes that on a level playing field, we can compete with any service. How much of Telem's income is based on the internet service? As an island that has tourism as its main industry in 2020, it's a sad situation that we say so how much we have to offer loudly in the world, but we have nothing in reality when it comes to proper stable internet. How can we fix this once and forever? Nowadays, internet is considered as almost a basic need. St. Martin doesn't have local internet, and most content is coming from abroad. Internet providers on St. Martin experience delays based on distance and location from relevant content and limitations of the copper network. Telem is always busy improving service through DNS mapping and other technical techniques. Telem sells various speeds but clearly cannot deliver what they sell to their customers. Why is that? Is this not incorrect or fraudulent when you sell something you know you cannot deliver properly? Majority of Telem customers are on DSL technology, and it has its limitations. Depending on the distance the customer is from the central office or CO and the quality of the copper, the speed will be affected. We don't sell services that we cannot deliver. The policy is that we measure the copper line to determine the maximum attainable download and upload speeds on the copper before providing the service. On occasion, we have experienced that some customers have multiple devices connected to the internet, which causes slow speeds. Telem is taking additional steps to better manage in-house bandwidth with the upgrade to fiber. This will give Telem and the customer a better view of bandwidth usage. Can we state unequivocally that because we sold the original fiber cable to the island in chunks, please state to whom all it was sold, that we're in small DS3s, and that for a reason that the overhead of having to split it into so many parts takes up a good chunk of what could have been consumer bandwidth? Can this ever be corrected? And if yes, how and when? The SMPR1 is an 8-pair undersea cable system from which Telem has activated only 2 pairs, leaving 4 pairs unused in the system, with 2 pairs being used for communication. Telem can activate unlimited capacity. Telem can activate unlimited capacity and has currently 40 gigabytes activated. SMPR1 doesn't have any problem with bandwidth capacity right now or in the future. Who is giving Telem bandwidth today to sell to its customers? Telem is getting its internet bandwidth mainly from Cable and Wireless, Caribbean, and its point of presence in the Miami NAP.
And as we continue now in other news, on Thursday, February the 4th, 2021, His Excellency Governor Dr. Anders Eugene Bernard Holiday was given a tour of the St. Martin Medical Center and an update of the COVID-19 efforts. His Excellency, joined by Director of the Cabinet of the Governor, Mrs. Mika Kalter, visited the St. Martin Medical Center for an official working visit. Prior to the tour, Governor Holiday was given a presentation by St. Martin Medical Center's management on the response vaccination plan and facilities, as well as an update on the upgrades to the current hospital, which includes a soon-to-be opened MRI center. The presentation also included a construction update for the new St. Martin General Hospital, SMGH, after which a virtual tour of the new hospital and a scale model were presented. During the tour, members of the COVID-19 team were thanked by the governor for their invaluable contributions during the pandemic and asked about their personal experiences. Many recounted the first month of dealing with the COVID-19 disease when little information was available on the virus and how to handle it. On St. Martin Medical Center's medical surgical ICU ward, which had been converted to increase isolation capacity within the hospital during the beginning of the pandemic, ICU supervisor and registered nurse Meandra Hazel and anesthesiologist Dr. Yelena George spoke about the stark differences from 1 year ago to now. A year ago, when there was a COVID-19 patient who needed to be transferred, everyone would have been nervous. Today, the process goes extremely smooth and everything flows effortlessly. The tour continued on to the radiology department, the emergency department, and the auxiliary care facility, the ACF, where the governor also had the opportunity to speak to the St. Martin Medical Center and an AMI expeditionary healthcare staff and thank them for their efforts. Now, turning to our weather forecast for February the 8th, 2021. A relatively dry and stable atmosphere will continue to restrict precipitation. However, small patches of moisture moving across the region may cause a brief shower at times. Meanwhile, the Atlantic high pressure system will generate breezy conditions through the next few days. Although the small craft advisory has been canceled, small craft operators and sea bathers should continue to exercise caution as seas are peaking near 7 feet. So the outlook through Wednesday midday, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with brief showers possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, member of the St. Martin AntiPoverty Platform says the Waiklu were sidelined by government. And I'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco contactless smart card. Your Banco smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with this local COVID-19 update, as of February the 7th, there were 8 persons who tested positive for COVID-19. However, 3 persons have recovered, bringing the total active cases to 126. The total number of confirmed cases is now 1,936. The Collective Prevention Services, CPS, are monitoring 125 people in home isolation. One patient remains hospitalized at the St. Martin Medical Center. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 27. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin has increased to 1,783. 200 people are in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by CPS. The Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, the airport health team, in collaboration with the Healthcare Laboratory St. Martin HCLS, have tested 2,408 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana International Airport, while CPS has tested 14,399 people throughout the community. As the numbers continue to fluctuate, CPS will continue to actively execute its contact tracing measures. Minister of Public Health reminds everyone to remain vigilant when in public places and protect yourself at all times by wearing your mask, maintaining a social distance of 2 meters, practice good hand hygiene, and be mindful of large gatherings. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, member of the AntiPoverty Platform, Mrs. Claire Elshot, speaking at their weekly press conference, which was held at the Weifel Building last Thursday, February the 4th, 2021. Mrs. Elshot says that they were sidelined by government. Mrs. Elshot said that she wanted to know why government sidelined the unions of the Chamber of Labor Unions, as there have been no meetings with the Council of Ministers on labor matters. The St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform member was responding to the Prime Minister's statement, which was made last week on the Prime Minister's program, The Prime Minister Talks, where it was said that there was no cooperation. Mrs. Elshot expounded further.
Unlawful proceedings of Prime Minister Sylvia Jacob and the COP to please the Dutch government. In our press conference of last Thursday, we informed the public about incorrect statements made in 2 draft ordinances to cut the remuneration of workers in the public sector and in the semi-public sector, to explain why the government sidelined the unions of the Windward Island Chamber of Labor Unions. Prime Minister Sylvia Jacob, in response to our information, went a step further in a live Facebook Prime Minister Talk program on January the 30th. In her topic of communication, she called our trusted sources as providing misinformation. Well, here are the facts, Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs. She did not bring in her 10-minute talk to explain why the Dutch conditions were accepted. The Prime Minister did not follow the laws. When did Prime Minister present the draft ordinances to the unions to be negotiated? Never. When the negotiations with the unions took place on the proposed contents of the draft ordinance? Never. Where in which law meetings with civil servants instead of with the unions and union representative is allowed to replace negotiations government has to hold with the unions? Prime Minister did not tell you. In other words, based on what letter of the law sidelining unions and not negotiating with unions was allowed, stating that the unions did not want to meet with the Council of Ministers, is a blatant lie. Capital L, capital I, capital E.
And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we want to thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.